We did get another question, and the question is, what are your thoughts about ABA, early childhood classrooms, and other early intervention services that are currently proposed or provided to young children with autism? And we talked about this a little bit, and I posted that video, but I said I would talk a little bit more specifically about ABA. And I know you're very open-minded and you see both sides, but as an autistic, what's your perspective on that question?
Keep in mind, autistics are individuals just like everyone else. Some are going to respond better to one method versus another method. The problem that I have with any of them is that you cannot put a label on and say all autistics are this way. All autistics need visual supports. All autistics, because of the label autism, therefore this is what they need. You need to be able to look at them as an individual and what they're trying to communicate, which they can't communicate well through facial expressions, gestures, or even verbally in many cases. So you need to look at their behavior and interpret what is that behavior trying to communicate to me, and then build on the program. The biggest problem with ABA is that it is a very structured program, i.e. the teacher themselves has to do it X number of times because they're documenting how many out of 10 times that you give the same prompt do you get the ideal response. And then you want to increase it till where you get. And you're using increasing levels of help. You may start with no prompts, just a verbal. And then if they don't, then you show them, and then you increase it to where you actually prod them. And then the hierarchy goes down. Unfortunately, the rigidity of it contributes to autistics becoming rigid, because that's how we were taught, is we do it this way and we do it exactly this way, and this is the end result, and it can't be any different. You're teaching us to be rigid, and then because you don't ever explain, why am I learning this? How am I supposed to use it? What is the meaning behind why I'm learning it? We don't generalize and we don't use it in other situations because there's no flexibility built into performing it in different ways in different situations. There's no built-in flexibility. It's all very structured and rigid, as opposed to some of the other approaches like floor time, that is more taking the lead of the autistic individual and then building on what they already know and can do, and then you're building on it. So that makes a whole lot more sense, because now you're starting with a strength that they have, as opposed to ABA often starts with what they can't do, what the testing says they're deficient in. And even though I know ABA is trying to do a more strength-based approach, they've already changed to hopefully a more play-based approach, recognizing sitting sitting in a chair at a table is not play. And so they are trying, and I recognize, to move in that direction, but it's really hard to let go of that scientific method and the rigidity that is required to do things in a scientific way. And you're teaching little robots. You're not teaching individuals and allowing for individual responses. Okay, so I don't stack the blocks 10 high. Instead, I create 2 stacks and then I put one on top like a tower. All right, I'm still learning how to stack blocks. I'm learning the motor control that supposedly is the whole goal behind it, but I didn't do it the way it says I'm supposed to. So now you're correcting me that I did it wrong.
Yes.
So now you're undermining that if I do things my way, I am wrong.
Yes.
And now you're affecting our mental health of
Yes.
always figuring everybody else knows the answer and knows how to do it in the right way. And I am the one that's wrong. And if I don't do it, now I become anxious because I don't know what it is you want from me. How can I meet your expectation if I don't understand? Because when I do what I thought I saw you do, it was wrong. And you're making me do it over and over and over again. And even if I'm doing it right, why are you making me do it over and over again? I only have so much
Yes.
energy. It takes, from a motor action, I have to work 10 times harder to make my muscles do what I need them to do, because it doesn't come easily or automatic. I already start at such a low tone that I have to really boost to make my, and so why are you making me do it 10 times, even though I've shown you I can do it correctly the first time?
Yes.
So those are the reasons why ABA gets such a bad rap. Um, uh, it's because the whole format of behind it,
Hmm.
not the individual teachers that are trying to teach it.
Oh, for sure. They're like all of us therapists. They have a
They
big
right, they
heart
want
and
what's
they
best for the
do.
child, but they are required to do it in a certain manner so they can document that yes, they did learn these things. But what do they do with what they learn? Is there any documentation that says they actually use it outside of when it's prompted?
Right. And I think you hit two really kind of heartbreaking ideas that one, they're being told they're doing it the wrong way. And you're right. Like these little kids, you're smashing their creativity and curiosity. And then like you said, too, having to do it over and over again. Autistics have to work so hard as it is. And so to make them do it again. And it breaks my heart when I hear families talk about, oh, well, the behavior is going to get worse before it gets better. And don't get me wrong, I used to talk about that because that's what I had heard and what I was taught. But if you think about it, it gets worse. And then what happened is you broke them. You
You broke.
broke them. And
Mhm.
that is why the behavior reduces, because their spirit is broken. They're broken. And
Yep.
so then, and they're like, whatever, I give up.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it your way because that's what I'm supposed to do.
And that's what I learned early on. If I just do what they say, the way they say it, I can get them off my back. I can get rid of them and their stupid expectations of me because I don't understand why they're even asking it. But if I don't, they get in my face and they
Yeah.
make it harder on me. So the easiest thing on me is to just comply with whatever anyone tells me to do. Well, yeah, I never developed a sense of self for that reason. I was always so other focused with all my energy went into doing what other people told me to do. And then all of a sudden, they decided by the time I was a teenager that I had to decide for myself and I had to make all these. Well, I was furious. You
Yeah.
didn't prepare me for this.
Yeah. There's a lot of work to be done. And again, we're not bashing the
No.
ABA, but something has to change. Something definitely has to change. And,
And I'm all for science. I
yeah,
understand that they need to restructure how they do uh, recording of the response
yeah,
and what they accept in the way of, as long as the end product is there, how they did it should not matter in the least.
yeah,
All you do is
absolutely.
set the goal that 2 + 2 has to equal 4. I
Mhm.
don't care what two objects you take. If you take three and one and put it together and that makes 4, I don't care. As long as you get to the end goal, to recognize that that's the end product that you need. How
Yeah,
they get there, it doesn't matter because we're going to do it differently.
yes. And accepting that doing it
Yes.
differently is okay, is
Mm-hmm.
that change that definitely needs to happen. Yeah. Thanks,
Agree.
Sue. I appreciate your answer.
Okay.